going from B2B into direct-to-consumer reverse, right? Or going from brick and mortar to online, or online to brick and mortar, right? There's all these different channels now, and we have access to, really measure, the value from those channels. What I've found interesting is, digitally native brands that are now going and creating pop-up retail locations, because nobody really wants to store inventory anymore. You have all of these people training, I'm sure there's some people in the audience training folks how to drop ship, right? It's the new model. You don't have to stock any inventory, but you have to take on some risk in order to get some reward, right? So if I'm going to purchase 100 and fill up my whole garage, or if I actually have warehouses, I'm using a 3PL, I have high turnover on products A, B, and C, but I can't move products X, Y, and Z. Do I hold on to products X, Y, and Z? Do I create a direct site? I think we had a client in one of my previous panels, Vicky, she had a site on BigCommerce that was just for excess inventory, and then it turned into a massive business opportunity for restaurant equipment, right? That now selling in both direct to consumer and B2B. So I think that journey, it'll change, and you have so much access to these different channels, and it's very available.
Let's go back to use cases, because we deviated out from that because there were so many good follow-ups. But John, you shared some of what Pacvue does, but I don't know if there was a little bit more that you wanted to offer in terms of a use case or a user journey, to just help people get a better understanding of the opportunities there.
Recently we spend a lot of time and also resource in AI, especially with the ChatGPT and the large language model comes out. We are thinking where we can do more optimization for clients. So we released a few things. For example, Excel Copilot. Basically, user can just speak in or type in natural language, and we will run the reports for them. The other place is we use ChatGPT to optimize users' Amazon listing. Of course, next step we will do also for Walmart and Target, but Amazon is the first step. So these are all the things that we try to improve our products.
Great, thanks. Alec, why don't you pick up and just share a bit of a case study or user journey for BigCommerce?
Yeah, so for BigCommerce, right, we're an e-commerce platform. We help merchants build direct relationships with their clients, right? So for us, it starts with product discovery. You'll find a product. You might do some research. The website has to have enough content for that buyer to feel comfortable about your product, but they might not purchase the first time they arrive on your website, right? You might not know why they bounced. You might have some idea on why they bounced from the page, but ultimately it's about product discovery, the ability to attract more eyeballs, whether that's via Google or via TikTok or some other channel where you're driving traffic, and being able to convert and retain those customers, right? So whether I'm selling restaurant equipment, whether I'm selling the wireless Shure SM58 that I'm currently speaking on in bulk, right? It doesn't really matter. You have to have the right product information displayed in the right channels with the right story, and really build that kind of story around your brand. And that's all done again through many different channels. Digital, the e-commerce site is one to showcase that. Think of it as just a retail store, but doing as much as you can to interact with that end user.
Alec, in the beginning, when I asked for greatest misconceptions, you were talking about how the software won't do everything for you. And I'd love to expand upon that a little bit more, because that is a great misconception. For so many things, people think that if they buy something, that it's going to just work. And that's not, of course, the case. And it's easy to say that. It's another thing to do what actually is necessary to really make the most of the thing that you're investing in. I'd love to hear from all of you and start a discussion about where you see users go wrong and what your advice is for how people can really make the most of the tools that they invest in.
Maybe you're hearing about new tools here at this conference. the value proposition sounds super appealing. And to Alec's point, you think that I'm just going to go buy that software and it's going to solve that problem for me. But it does take a significant amount of time to get up to speed on how to use the software, how to onboard. I don't think enough people take advantage of the resources that a company might provide in terms of training or education. I know that for us, we provide a lot of education. We do a lot of hand-holding for people who are willing to reach out to us, and we do our best to train them as well. But at the end of the day, it is a tool. It is a software tool that you need to use. You need to learn how to do it. Whether it's you or someone on your team, just like anything else in life, you have to take some time to learn that skill. And so I would recommend anyone to think about it as a personal development thing, that if you think that this tool is going to be important to your business, then you need to invest your time to develop the skill.
I will use a previous example. When I work in Microsoft, we work on business intelligence. So we use data mining to dig into customers' data and can show different reports. This helps our customers because they don't have a team with the expertise to do data mining, because at that time, technology is very expensive. You need to hire very expensive people to do machine learning. And later on, like about 10 years ago, machine learning technology is very available, easily available to everyone. You can simply use Python to call the function name to run different algorithms, such as SVM or machine like a decision tree. It's very easy. So like people can build an in-house team. The team is not that expensive, and they can do whatever machine learning by themselves. So today, there might be a misconception that everyone think large language model is available, so they want to input their resource and try to build their own model. But you need to remember, today, large language model is still the bar is very high. The investment should be very expensive. So today, I think it is better for most companies. You just call like a ChatGPT, use their service, or use like companies like us. We provide some service, and you just call it, use it, and maybe after 1 or 2 years, large language model become to be more available, and the cost will be lowered. At that time, you can invest in your team to do your own model, which is customized to your own needs. At that time, that technology will be more possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies, they have to take the approach of less is more when they're first starting out. You know, spreadsheets are your friend, right? I've seen businesses doing many millions a year over just purely on Google Sheets, like orders on Google Sheets. You know, manual processes when you're starting out are okay, but it's about understanding when that inflection point hits, you know, whether that's because you were featured on Shark Tank or you were featured in some, you know, TikTok viral video where it's like, holy crap, now I need to actually figure out how to automate this and scale this up. And you know, what's that next thing that I need? Do I hire someone in-house, or do I work with a services company to help, you know, implement this? And so long as you have the right vision, you understand your business maturity, I think, you know, there's some harmony that can happen there, right?
Let's talk about AI more. It's come up a bit in the panel already, but we should talk about it more. You know, John, you made the great point that people have an expectation that AI is just going to immediately do whatever it is that they want it to do, or that it might be significantly more advanced than perhaps the capabilities are now. I'm curious what you are all seeing in AI in your own businesses, or AI more generally, what you're excited about, and where you think there's opportunity and room for improvement. That's really broad. I'm going to throw it out there and just see what you all are thinking, and we can build from there.
Sure. I mean, there's obviously a lot of interest in using AI to amplify all of our businesses. I think there's a lot of opportunity to kind of staff enhance your team by adding capabilities that you don't have, making things more efficient that you do want to do with AI. I think there's a potential issue if people put too much stock into AI and trust it a little bit too much. I think especially as we're all using ChatGPT and kind of generalized models, AI is prone to hallucinations, and if anyone's played with it, you know that it can kind of make up stuff. So, I would definitely caution people from just taking the output of AI and using it in a production environment. One of the things that we're doing with PickFu is we're gathering a lot of consumer written feedback for people, and so we're building an AI research assistant on top of that. And it's a directed use of AI where we're feeding the very relevant results of feedback on your product into AI and allowing you to summarize it, gather sentiment, and gather action from that specific data set. And I think that's a great way to use AI. I think AI, when directed with a specific data set, is great for analysis. You're going to feel a lot more confident about the results from it because you know what you put into it. So, they say garbage in, garbage out. So I think it's something that you should keep in mind.
That's an interesting point about the real specificness of the way that it's used. I think every product that we're talking about, every product that you've encountered lately has rushed to have some kind of AI layer in it. And there's an open question about how useful that's going to be. Do you have any insights or advice on how users, businesses can evaluate whether or not the AI tool is going to be useful to them, or how to make it useful?
I think, for products like generating product descriptions, auto-generating product recommendations, for customer support, automating responses, where's my order, right? The most common question in e-commerce. So a lot of these things I think are low-hanging fruit. But then, for each kind of microservice, whether I'm providing a personalized content experience or whether I'm helping with like the post order and the fulfillment and customer support case example, I think if companies are not leveraging some level of like mass data analysis to interpret some results, like I was joking with Justin yesterday, I wish AI could do data migration projects. When I was on the e-commerce implementation side, data migration was like one of the biggest pains, but I just don't know how we reasonably automate that across like every single industry. Like automotive data is going to be completely different than restaurant equipment, right? So yeah, just using the tool. I think there's some other good points made in terms of like giving some more time. I think we're at the very beginning of this, and it's a lot more hype than I think it probably deserves, and it has to be a lot more pointed for real value.
Yeah, Alec just mentioned a microservice. I think this is a good idea. For us, like we know ChatGPT is a good thing to summarize your text, to generate text and translate or optimize your text. But we use ChatGPT as a powerful natural language engine to organize our microservice behind. So we build a lot of microservice, and for the next 2 quarters, we will use ChatGPT to understand users' intent, and then let ChatGPT decide which microservice we can call to fulfill users' requirement. This is our external usage for ChatGPT, and we have our internal optimization, such as for developers, we let them to use GitHub Copilot. This can dramatically save their time to build these easy or simple functions. So it might save them like 10 to 20% of their development time. And also we use ChatGPT to summarize, extract the most various legal terms with our clients in different contracts. This is very important because we work with enterprise clients, so every client has different terms. So we need to know what are the specific terms, and we use ChatGPT to help us. It will be very useful for us, yeah, for internal optimization.
Before we came out here, we all had a nice lunch together. We were talking about, one of the subjects was data, and bad data, good data, useful data. And this is, of course, incredibly important because a lot of digital business tools really are built on the promise of data, of collecting data, of using data. But if people either don't know what to do with that data or how to properly gather it, it's not all that useful. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how businesses can be smarter about utilizing the data that they're gathering and of identifying the tools that are going to really help them in that problem.
I can talk about something. So for Pacvue, we work with enterprise clients. Our data is mostly from like Amazon API, Amazon advertising API, and the seller partner API, and all Walmart API and Target API. Of course, we worked with Amazon for the last 5 years. Their API is improving all the time. At the beginning, their data quality is not good. For example, Amazon has that disclaimer in their website saying the data from API could be 5% different from their UI. So that's our pain because our customer always comes to us saying data is different from Pacvue compared with Amazon UI. But we have nothing to do. We cannot do anything because that's the data we get. But now Amazon become to be better. But we also work with other smaller retailers. Their technology is also evolving. So we always need to deal with bad data. And we try to use some algorithm to detect data anomaly and try to prevent. And also when we build a rules AI, we need to keep that in mind because the data we have might not be perfect. It might be wrong. So we need to put a lot of mechanism to prevent misuse of the data. In case like the wrong data can cause customer to overspend. That's a bad thing for our clients. So we need to do a lot of work on top of bad data.
Yeah, so I think for us, we have native integration into Google BigQuery, which is just like a basic data warehouse, right? So step one is warehousing your data, right? Step two is understanding, how is this going to either make me more efficient or make me more money, right? Those are kind of the two things. So if it's how do I make more money, it's all right, how do I, with this information, how do I make sure that, Jason with the size, 11 shoe goes and purchases a set of socks that within that size range, or a complementary good or cross sell, right? Or how do I get you from my e-commerce store into my physical store? Am I tracking your geo and sending you SMS, or am I reaching you on these other channels and finding the next touch point? Am I using that information to get ahead of my customer buying experience, right? Or buying habits?
My shoes are a 9.5 in case anyone wants to give me free shoes, just clarification. Justin, anything on data?
I think data, people should take the same approach that we were talking about with tools. I think it's easy to get caught up in, I need more data, data's going to solve all my problems. I think setting up proper data collection and storage is important, but it's also easy to get misled, the data, especially when there's outliers and maybe, for example, in a software company, you may only be targeting a certain ideal customer profile, but if you're looking at the aggregate data of all the types of people who may come in, it maybe causes a lot of noise. And you may not see the high fidelity signal of the actual usage of your ideal customer. I think the same could happen with any brand or selling to a broad audience, because maybe 80% of your customer base is a certain demographic profile, but you're looking at all the data and you're getting a lot of skew, and you start changing your advertising campaigns because like this 5% outlier. So I would just caution that it's like tools. You gotta be careful about thinking that data is the mecca. Just be cautious with it.
I imagine that happens quite a bit in your line of work because your users are surveying people. They're getting all sorts of opinions. Everyone's got an opinion. And as a business leader, you don't know which opinion you should take seriously. You feel like you're supposed to take all of them seriously, but that'll lead you in 20 million different directions. How do you see successful users, or how do you guide users towards picking the right data to use?
Yeah. This is actually where the AI research assistant that we built kind of helps smooth out those data points, because if you poll 50 or 100 people, there could be all kinds of different responses, but typically there is some kind of broader trends. I think when you're a human and reading through it, you may get distracted by certain stories, and while those are important, the AI can be a little bit more objective and say, well, these are the broader trends, and maybe that's what I need to focus on because that's the 80% of the responses. So I think that's one way you could effectively use AI to kind of smooth out that noise.
Something that came up at the very beginning of the panel that I want to make sure we get to before we end is, Justin, your point about small businesses not thinking they can compete against big businesses. Now, there's another way of thinking about that, of course, which is that small businesses are surrounded by providers who are all saying, we can help you compete. We can help you compete. If you use us, if you just buy the software, maybe it'll do it. So what is your advice to small businesses who have one of two concerns? And I'm just going to leave it open for all of you. Either I can't compete, or I don't know which partner can help me compete.
I think Alec made a good point earlier about starting small and measuring and kind of in these incremental ways. And I think if you're a small business and you're looking at like a craft or something like, oh, how am I going to beat them? Then obviously it's going to feel very daunting. And so I think it's all about finding small wins, whether it's validating your products in a small digital focus group like using PickFu, or doing a small run of orders. I know Damon John was talking about this in his talk, where he was talking about being able to order smaller amounts of inventory to kind of validate that need and pricing and the kind of the customer validation. So I think as you keep building up small wins under your belt, you'll eventually build the necessary skill set. And there's no prescriptive way. Every entrepreneur, every business has a very different approach to getting to their success. And so I think you just kind of have to take those small wins and adjust your path accordingly.
Yeah, I think when you're first starting out, it's really important to find your champion. Like, who's that customer that you're going to go put on the billboard that, like, this is who I am helping. And most likely when you're starting out, you're going to have to provide more value at a lower cost. And then as you continue to provide that value, you can raise your prices and you can find that, product market fit and that differentiation, right?
Yeah, and for small companies, if you want to, if you are in the market and try to pick up a good tool, you probably need a referral. And if the price is not expensive, for example, like Helen Ten's price is really cheap, you might just try different products and compare, do A/B tests to see which one provides better value for you.
Let's end with the idea of starting. Just came up with that theme right now. It sounds good. It's deep. So just before we got on stage, I had asked all of you what common questions you get from customers or potential customers. And I can't remember. I think, Justin, you might have said this, or sorry if it wasn't one of the others, but it was, how do I start? How do I start? How do I get going? And that is the question that I think a lot of people have at all times, every time they encounter something new. We have three leaders of great companies here, and the question on a lot of people's minds should be, well, how do I start? How do I start working with them? What do you see from your users, or how do you guide users towards evaluating whether or not a solution is right for them and how to actually get going? Where do you see success at that very, very beginning stage?
I think for us, we always try to evangelize listening to your customer, listen to your target audience. So what we recommend if people don't know how to get started with like a platform like PickFu is to start with something very open-ended. So you can ask a question on our platform, take a look at this product, take a look at this product listing, what questions do you still have? And I think that's one way to start getting into the head of your potential audience. Maybe that product is not even for sale yet, it is something that you're working on, but it can surface a lot of interesting concerns. This is something that we do ourselves as a software company. We're constantly talking to our customers. And I think it'll go towards Alec's point, what he said about having that ideal customer profile in your head, like who is that person, what do they look like, and you need to talk to people for that. And I think that's the best way to get started on your journey.
Yeah. So for our Pacvue, when clients onboarding, we usually have CS team to do like training for how to use our products. I would suggest like customer to pay more attention. Don't assume you know all the features. Pay more attention, especially for the detailed things. And then after the onboarding, customer need to like be careful when they use our features. They should look at all the like tooltips and all the help documents. And when usually our customer will ask us like for different new requests. For example, they have customized request, and I hold a lot of customized requests sending to me, and we will evaluate if the customized request is a common thing to other clients. If that is, then we will put this as a high priority and try to build a new feature for them. But if that's very specific to one client, we will have a priority system to like rank all these requests and try to see which one we should solve first, because based on the value to clients here.
Yeah, for us, there could be any number of reasons why someone's evaluating BigCommerce. I mean, during the pandemic, was that I can't get into a physical store, therefore I need a website, right? So that's net new. These days, e-commerce platform business is a bit commoditized. You've probably heard of, Shopify and Magento and like a lot of these other platforms that effectively offer shopping carts, right? So how do you really, evaluate one versus the other? It's this spectrum of value and cost, and you try to figure out, what's going to be my total cost to ownership, 5 years from now, and how far am I going to be able to scale this platform, and do I have to keep buying another thing, or do I want to purchase a platform that is, constantly innovating? I don't have to manage a code base, like open source for software as a service. Do I want to pay more one time for what is worth it today, or do I want to invest in something where I pay a monthly fee, but there's constant innovation and I get the benefits of that, right? Which is why I think SaaS has become, kind of more popular, right? But how to start an online business, I think it's a lot of the time it's out of necessity or keeping up with the competition.
So much exciting innovation. We really appreciate you spending the time with us. Justin, John, Alec, thank you for sharing your insights. Alec, beatbox us out. Thank you, everybody.